Hey everyone, FoxMantis Radio here. Breaking news! I've got Kaleb Edward Williams here. He's an actor, writer, producer, also a great artist. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming all the way out here. Where do you reside?
We live just west of Mopac in Terrytown.
Oh, okay. It's not too bad. Yeah, but it is kind of across town.
Yeah, we're like on opposite sides.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
cool out here. It's like driving through, Mad Max land with all these like giant RoboCop machines, and then you get over here and it's kind of like, oh look, I didn't even know this was here. I used to live in probably like 2000, 2001. I lived in a house on Loyola Lane,
Oh
just on the other side of 183, about like 3 blocks, and I got to tell you, it was quite a bit different than it is today.
yeah. Well, they are
15 years
building
ago.
better houses. For sure, and I mean, I still live in like little Mexico part, but yeah, they're building nicer places. So
What was funny as I was driving down the street, I was like looking at my left. I was like, is it one of these? Holy smoke! Look at these houses right here.
no, I like to tease and then just like gently let you down.
No, but this is a cool space, man.
Yeah,
and,
it's working.
and
on it.
speaking of for your art wall, I brought you a.
This is for
painting.
me?
Yes, that's for you.
Oh shit! Nice, awesome, very cool. So you're an abstract artist?
Well,
Right.
no.
No,
Sometimes it's completely abstract, and sometimes it's more
I can see it now.
where the
This is cool.
subjective meets,
Yeah.
an abstract image. And
Oh,
no, I like to. Some of them are more like, what do you see in the image, and then sometimes they're things I've deliberately put there. One I did really recently, there's an image in it that is so concretely real that you would like swear I did it on purpose, but I just didn't. It's just like, nope, I didn't do that. That's just kind of worked out that way through the process.
I love the fact that you're donating to all the artwork I have is local artists, so it's really cool.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
the space is cool.
Yeah.
I especially like that the trees, man.
Yeah, that's my buddy Tepla. He's really good. Reminds me of New England. That's where I'm from.
It
so.
reminds me of the fake New England in Halloween,
Oh,
which is obviously like California, but they threw some
Right.
leaves on the ground.
they
so.
did. Yeah. Well, I want to get this wall painted. This whole wall would be cool, just to have a bunch of different artists come and just do some stuff.
Like
And,
a almost like a mosaic style mural where each artist does a little patch of it.
Yeah, that'd
That's
be cool.
cool.
Yeah, and just put it all on Facebook Live and live feed it and talk about it. and
Wow, especially
interview.
if you could do it in like one
One day.
one go, like invite 20 artists over
That's
at
what I wanna
once.
do.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
and
that's-
just sit there and film the whole thing.
Exactly. And
You
we
could either
sit
watch
there and
it-
talk to him. And
You could either watch it live or have a kind of a time lapse at the end.
oh yeah, man, I didn't even think about time lapse. That'd be so dope.
Well, that way people could watch the whole process in like 5 minutes. It'd be
Yeah.
like whatever it is, like 10 hours of it, but
you just see me standing in front of the camera. You don't even just. I ruined the whole.
like you
time-lapse.
don't.
No. But no, that's a great idea for time lapsing it. Yeah. So I want to get that together. I mean, that'd be cool if you wanted to come down and.
I'd love to.
Yeah, I just need to get more
Sounds like a lot
artists
of fun.
involved. Yeah, and I'll put a date on that. Yeah, I've been trying to think of like cool little segments to do. Brennan Torres had mentioned there's this thing like this autistic film festival, and I wanted to do like a 24-hour podcast and just have different guests on, and I stay up for 24 hours. And he's like, well, you should probably do like a benefit. And I got this awesome benefit that you could work for. So I'm trying to see if I can, raise money for that. That's in November.
Oh,
and,
that's cool.
I might like do this in a movie theater up in Taylor, Texas. The one we did
Oh, yeah, for
mention.
sure.
So like have a bunch of people, maybe some bands, and I'll just sit there and interview people and for a good cause. So
Well, if you need like some paintings donated, maybe you could like raffle off or something.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to donate some.
see, the more and more we talk about it, the more and more it comes together with like different aspects to it, and that's perfect. Yeah. So I mean, how long you been painting?
Really only about like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was an art teacher, and I always had all kinds of materials at the house, whether it was like things that were made out of clay that I could like glaze and fire. We had like a kiln in the back of the house that my dad made to fire like pots and stuff in, and we
love
had painting.
kilns.
I had like oil pastel, chalk. I had paints. Like I had all kinds of things to just let my imagination run wild with. But really, once I was in high school, I was focused a lot more in theater, and then once I was in college, I was focused a lot more in film.
Right.
But then, a few years ago, had just moved into this new house, and I had a couple of female roommates.
Nice.
And one of the girls was like, "Hey, we're gonna just paint. Do you want to do that?" And she had some, acrylic paints and some canvases, and I just like did a painting, and I was like, well, this is satisfying in a way I don't recall. So I did a few more, and then it kind of came and went, just as a little itch to scratch. And then somebody was like, "Well, have you ever taken some of these paintings to like one of these outside sale things, like a bazaar or whatever?" And I was like, "No." She's like, you ought to try that." So I tried it, and I had sold a couple, and I was like, wow, that was also very satisfying. So I continue to paint for my own satisfaction, and I like to sell them for fun. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Do you sell them often? Do you go to like festivals or?
I did, I only started really selling them last spring. So only like a year ago have I really started kind of aggressively monthly going somewhere to sell my stuff. But then as the wedding approached, I had a lot more preoccupation with that and planning our honeymoon. But yeah, I'm about to I should have a few more shows coming up soon.
That's great.
But I don't have any on the books yet.
All right. Do you have heaps of artwork to sell?
I have heaps of artwork to sell.
That's awesome. So you pumped out a bit of product. That's great.
Yeah, I like to get rid of it and make room for more because it takes up a lot of space.
Right. And you just got back from Ireland, right? That was your honeymoon choice?
Yes, yeah, we went to Ireland. We were there, everybody was like, "Why did you come to Ireland for your honeymoon?" And I got to tell you, after having been there, it was really like the most beautiful place I've ever been.
That's so amazing.
It's like, the way I've been describing it to people is like, it's like if Ridley Scott's Legend was not all built like in a soundstage. It's actually that.
Yeah.
It's actually like everything, glistens with like that morning dew because it rains every single day, but then the sun comes out and there's just this incredible mixture of plants that seem completely unreal, all piled on top of each other. And yeah, there were several places. This place we went called the Kerry National Park. Mm-hmm. It's where Charlie Chaplin like built his vacation home away from the United States. It's like if you had that kind of money at that time, you go anywhere and build your vacation home. Why would you not build it right there? It's like nothing comes to mind. Is
it still there?
Oh, the home? Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, I know Charlie Chaplin's not there, but
yeah, but his daughter and his granddaughter hold a silent film festival there every year.
That's awesome.
So that's they have even out there a Kerry tradition because he loved it so much out there. It's crazy how unbelievably beautiful it is. Just shocking. I look at the pictures that I took of it, and I'm just like, you just can't tell. You can't tell from these photographs.
What doesn't do it justice?
Not even close. No.
So did it rain for a while while you were there? Or?
We only really had one day where it rained all day.
That's crazy.
And we went to this place called Glendalough, and it's like this. I believe it's a 6th century monastic ruin, and these dudes lived out there, probably like 12 at a time at any given time. Like not very many people, but it stood for 700 years. They had a church and a little barn and a graveyard, and then they have this tower. It's like probably 150-foot tower, and the door to the tower is 12 feet off the ground with like a ladder they pull up from the inside. So this thing stood out there for 700 years, partially because of its remote location, but also because the invaders that did come during that time, like, they couldn't do anything. They run up to the side of the tower and get stuff thrown down at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, these guys,
remarkable.
These guys out there would just, not talk to each other and farm and fish the glacial lakes and write a book that no one would read in their lifetime, but that would like last forever, that type of thing. So yeah, being out there, I was very kind of in awe of this kind of existence that these monks, really had. When you think about like a spiritual existence, it's not so much like any given religion or whatever, but like the connection that these dudes literally had to like the place where they were living. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, they live off the earth. And
completely self-sustaining, and not just in terms of, oh, we have enough to eat, but also we're protected from the elements, and we can even defend ourselves from people that would come in and threaten our lives, the way that we live. Because even most people today, if people get together and be like, well, we want to go live off the grid in a self-sustaining thing, if you say you're going to do that, people are just like, oh, you're a cult. It's like, but not necessarily. We're just tired of the kind of like status quo. You know what I'm saying?
You can get arrested nowadays if you try to go off the grid completely, like without a power source or whatnot, and just do your own. I've heard stories about people.
I think some states are a little more aggressive about it. Yeah. I mean, I read a story a couple years ago. Just we don't have to go how far down this rabbit hole we need to go, but some Amish families were like arrested by the FBI for selling unpasteurized milk.
Really?
Because that's like not FDA approved. And it's like, if people want to feed their babies unpasteurized milk because that's how people drank milk for basically nearly all of human existence.
Right.
I mean, why is that? What's the deal? You know what I mean? Like, and so yeah, if they can be upset about the unpasteurized Amish milk, then like I'm just like, there's no limit to what sort of.
Wait, this is cow's milk, not Amish breast
milk.
Okay.
It's cow's milk. I mean, right. I can't vouch actually for the in the story that I read, it was alleged to be cow's milk. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But I don't know. How can we know?
Can't know for sure.
No. The proof is in the pudding.
That's right.
But no one ever made any pudding out of that milk because the FBI.
That's true. Oh man, but now there is no head of the FBI anymore.
Well, that's just even coincidental that I'm talking about that. I kind of. Anyway. So
let's go back to Ireland for a minute.
Oh, sure, sure. Let's go back. I can't wait to go back. I recommend it to anyone listening.
Did you go to like Dublin or?
Yeah, we stayed in Dublin a couple of days, and then we rented a car and drove through the country like a couple of days, and then we went back to Dublin for a couple of days before we flew home. And
was there a lot of drinking involved?
Pretty steady drinking all day long, every day. I'm not saying that we drank and drive, but the thing about Ireland is it's like coming from Texas, it's like not that big. So from town to town, as we would get up in the morning and like drive to the next place, it's like, and by drive we mean like 45 kilometers.
Right.
So we're like there in like an hour, you know what I mean? It's like, and from Texas, an hour is not a drive. That's like a commute. Like a lot of people will like drive that far to work. So
it's not a big deal.
It's not that big a thing.
Is it super humid there? Since it rains every day and the sun comes out?
It does rain every day and the sun does come out, but like there's nice wind.
Oh.
Because it's all. I mean, we drove across the south part of it, so we were never probably more than, I don't know, maybe like I said, like 20 kilometers from the ocean, no matter where we were. So there's always good. No matter where you are, if you're close enough to the ocean, there's good breeze as opposed to like real arid areas. So the air never felt still, and especially in Dublin. Dublin is just like super windy. Like even when it was like it's 60 degrees outside, and I'm like, 60 degrees, that's t-shirt weather. And you go out there and you're just like, well, it's t-shirt weather if there wasn't just like frigid sea air like whipping my flesh around.
Wind chill 35.
Yeah, it's very, very windy in Dublin, but it's a cool city, man.
What was your favorite place to hang out there?
Man, we really never hung out any one place twice. We just wanted to see
that's true.
Everything. We didn't get like time to have a haunt. My favorite place in Dublin. Well, there's this park. It's right behind the Gate Theater, which it has like two sides to it. One side shows like plays, and the other side used to be a cinema, but they had like a real bodies exhibit there, which was very cool. But like right behind this park, behind this theater is like this long park, and the pool, I don't know if it's just like called like a looking pool or whatever, that's in the middle is like a big Celtic cross, and there's, you know, around it is like the walking area with benches and stuff where you can sit, and the grass that's elevated on all sides is not for walking, you know. And up at the top of the cross is this huge statue of like that's inspired by this Irish folk tale called The Children of Lear, about these kids that for like hundreds of years were like turned into swans, but then were, after like some true love was manifest, they turned back into their human selves. And there was this quote by this giant statue that I'll read now because I took a picture of it, and
absolutely.
it's like very like this incredible quote that I didn't want to forget, so I photographed it.
Oh, send me that picture too. I'll put that on the YouTube.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's from Liam McWeaston. I don't know who he is, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But the quote is, "We saw a vision. In the darkness of despair, we saw a vision. We lit the light of hope, and it was not extinguished. In the desert of discouragement, we saw a vision. We planted the tree of valor, and it blossomed. In the winter of bondage, we saw a vision. We melted the snow of lethargy, and the river of resurrection flowed from it. We sent our vision to swim like a swan on the river. The vision became a reality. Winter became summer. Bondage became freedom. And this we left to you as your inheritance. O generations of freedom, remember us, the generations of the vision." And yeah, I just, you know, that's one of those great keep up the fight poems. You know what I mean?
That's great. Well, congratulations for getting married.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How does it feel now that you're a husband?
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you guys together for a while before you hit the
Nearly 2 years.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yes, her name is Sarah Elizabeth, and she's the love of my life.
Aw, that's amazing. Shout out to Sarah Elizabeth. She loves you. Oh, man.
Yeah, the wedding was great. We got married in Wimberley, and it was very beautiful. She planned the whole thing.
Oh, so that's good.
Yeah.
Was it a big wedding or?
I don't know. It wasn't tiny, but it wasn't huge.
Yeah.
We have a lot of friends.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't want to. I guess, yeah. I don't know.
Well, that's good. I mean, I don't like over-the-top weddings. If I get married again, I don't want anything huge, you know. But how'd you guys meet?
Like you do. Just in a public watering hole.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. And so I guess we'll get into some film stuff because you do that as well. Not only are you a good artist, but you also have more art in different aspects. So.
Yeah. No, the film is really where my passion lies. Just watching films, talking about films, analyzing films, working on films.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like yourself and lots of other people, I appreciate the fact that it's kind of you get the whole thing. You get to appreciate all the aspects of artistry in a film, whether it's the visual or the auditory, or you know what I mean.
What is your favorite aspect of film, or just, you know?
I think my favorite aspect of film is like the philosophical sort of, you know, the way that narrative can pull something out of an individual that they might not have considered in a way that a talking head or a friend that has a different point of view with you. It's very hard to get somebody to put on somebody else's shoes. And even when you are reading a book, I think that even if the character behaves in a way different than you, and even if it's told in the first person, you still mentally keep yourself at a distance from it. But when you're watching a film and a great filmmaker is using all his powers to make you feel what the characters are feeling through editing, through mise-en-scene, through performance, through music, even the most like willful minds can sometimes be swayed. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a power in cinema that really just fascinates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, and that's a really good point. Trying to visualize being in someone else's shoes and you know, putting it into a point of view where people can relate and want to see it. And yeah, it's fascinating. Do you like to direct, or do you like to be behind the camera? What is your position that you want?
I like writing the most.
Writing the most?
I definitely like writing the most because it's the least collaborative, which is like a terrible thing to say, but like honestly, like yeah, the I think the hardest thing sometimes is, and it's hard because I don't know, when all of the people's visions come together, it creates something that you never really, that any one individual, you know, necessarily saw. But when you're writing, that's not true. When you're writing, it's just your way. It's
Right.
just the way that you see it in your head, and it means what you like, what you shape it to mean. And that process, I think, is like, you spend so much time editing and trying to like refine what it is that you're saying as a writer, that it's always kind of ego busting when you get into production, because it's like, okay, well, we didn't have time for this and we don't have money for that, and we got to abbreviate that. And
Right.
then once you shoot everything and start putting it together, you like string it along and you're like, well, this doesn't really work here and that doesn't really work there. And you, again, but you just got to see it as an extension of that general editing that you started when you were like refining your idea. It's like, well, then it just continues to get edited into the very final pieces, but that usually involves several other individuals.
Yes. Yeah. So you like the original, right? So you've written some screenplays, or you prefer writing screenplays, or do you like writing like short stories, novels, or?
I like to imagine it as a film.
Yeah.
I like to write screenplays. Yeah, I don't typically. I have, you know, I write a few short stories. I started writing a novel once, but I don't know. I guess I just got intimidated by the process. I don't know. There's probably a way to do it that I've never tried to do the way these guys like. A lot of modern novels have like really short chapters, like 3 or 4 pages. And they're, you know, designed to be more of a page turner. And I don't know, in a film, I feel like if you write a 10-page scene, 10 minutes is like a really long time. You know what I mean? But
Especially if it's all one shot.
right, yeah. But you know, in a book, like 10 pages is like not that much. It doesn't seem, and like tons of things can happen. And I don't know, the process is of writing a film is a little simpler to me. I don't know. You know, maybe I'm a hack.
No, stop it.
It's one of those. It's one of those things. It's like Woody Allen and what you call it, Midnight in Paris.
Yeah, oh yeah.
His character just like wishes he could write a novel, but he can only do like what he considers hack work.
Right. Well, I mean, people have their strengths and weaknesses, and you know, some people can write a novel but can't write a fucking screenplay. You know.
That's definitely true, Anne Rice. I'm sorry if you're listening, Anne Rice, but your screenplay for your novel Interview with the Vampire couldn't even be saved by like
Oh man.
a game Tom Cruise and a very adept Neil Jordan. Like still, and I don't know, man.
Oh man. I watched that not too long ago, just to revisit
It's
it.
a hard movie to like and make excuses for, and I do like and make excuses for it. But man,
Yeah,
there's
I'd make excuses for it too, but it's
Mostly
I
just-
don't like vampire movies to begin with, so I'm like,
It's-
that one's alright, but rewatching it, it drags, man.
well, the real truth of the matter is, even beyond Anne Rice's like kind of less than electrifying version of her own material, is the fact that allegedly that was like the worst time Brad Pitt ever had on a movie, because he was
Really?
always playing second fiddle to Tom Cruise. And
Wow.
Tom Cruise just made the shoot like exceedingly difficult for him because he was
Scientologist.
the star. Well, maybe
That must have been.
but
fucking
because
shitty.
Brad Pitt was the star and the up and coming like actor, you know, Tom Cruise kind of made it like, I don't know. And Tom Cruise is supposed to be pretty easy to get along with, but apparently, yeah, the two of them were kind of. Brad Pitt kind of got the cold shoulder. I don't know, I wasn't there, but this is what I've heard about that movie and why, you know, Brad Pitt hated working on it.
Oh man, I wouldn't blame him. I really don't like Tom Cruise too much.
I like him more than I used to.
Really? And like, what movie changed your mind about Tom Cruise? The Mission Impossible series.
It's not so much that I like him more than I used to in terms of the movies he's currently in. It's more like there are a handful of movies that I didn't really like that I do like now. Specifically, Minority Report and War of the Worlds. I kind of, when I was 25, I would say 24 to 25, I just feel like there was more movies that I disliked than liked because I had this really sort of holier than thou approach to like watching movies. And sometimes they were really good movies that I disliked, and when going back, I'm like, what was I thinking? That was a great movie. And those are two movies that for some reason I thought were just like, well, that was junk. And I'm just like, no, those movies are really not junk. Those are, particularly War of the Worlds, held against it what I wanted it to be rather than what it was. And that's a problem with me and not a problem with the movie. Like, it's not a perfect movie, but
Right.
I just hated it. And in retrospect, it's like, no, that movie's like pretty good. It's a pretty good movie.
That's how I felt about seeing Guardians 2. I had a whole conceived like things that I wanted to happen.
We're gonna have to put a spoiler alert on this podcast because I've seen it too, so we could talk about it.
Oh, we can talk about it. I've I like getting people's opinions on it. And spoiler alert, we're gonna talk about Guardians real quick. What did you think of it?
Well, the context for it first is we saw it like 10 hours after we got back from Ireland, so we were just like, I was avoiding the internet till I saw it because I was like, somebody's gonna spoil something.
Yeah.
So I had to see it right away.
That's why
But I was kind of like mentally drained from a really cool trip. So I've heard a lot of people talk about the jokes in the movie, but I saw it in a maybe like only a half full cinema, and I feel like it didn't like pop with laughter the way that some other people's screenings did. I definitely thought it was a great movie that was some movie that James Gunn wanted to make, and he could do whatever he wanted, provided that it was shaped like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Unfortunately, for some people, that's a bit like walking up to somebody asking for a cold beer after you've just had a cold beer and getting like a vintage glass of wine, which is good, but you really had just had a cold beer, and when you asked for a drink, you were expecting another cold beer, which is satisfying in its own kind of way.
Right.
And Guardians of Galaxy, the first one, is definitely a cold glass of beer. And the second one is like maybe not a cold glass of beer. And you're just like, man, I'm not upset that you handed me this. I certainly wasn't expecting this.
No, I wasn't expecting it to. I wanted some sort of story arc with Infinity Stones getting tied in, but I didn't get it, and I'm okay
All
with
you
it.
get in that movie is like one piece barely moved at the end and one of the postscripts.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. They had a lot of
Postscripts.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the part with the pod where Aisha says that she's going to call him Adam.
Yeah.
That's all of the
I didn't get that. Who is Adam?
Adam Warlock, man.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's where I got confused.
No, he's behind Thanos. He's my favorite character. I'm a big Jim Starlin fan from beyond the Marvel stuff, but I'm really curious to see how they're going to handle that stuff because what makes those characters cool on the page is the license to have one character obsess over the fact that, you know, we're all gonna die, and I worship this kind of this nihilism that is Thanos. Mm-hmm. You know, his death worship is kind of like, how can I see anything past that when I know that there is that, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have this Adam Warlock character who Starlin didn't create but did all the seminal work with, who is essentially Space Jesus, whose kind of cosmic
Space
thought,
Jesus.
is to sacrifice oneself is its own value, whereas your value is how can I see value in the universe when there is nothing. But again, this is some stuff that Jim Starlin, Vietnam vet, comes back from the war as a comic book artist and starts constructing these things based on like philosophy classes he's taking in college. And on the page, it kind of works because they act as like talking heads sorting out these kind of like, I'm a soldier that's been to war and seen like the worst the world has to offer, but also I made it through to the other side, and I saw, you know, some sort of value in. I mean, I'm not a veteran, but I know that there's a lot of things that happen out there that have a lot less to do with us versus them and more to do with you and the guy next to you.
Right, and that's what kind of that's where like a lot of PTSD comes from, is like losing that person beside you.
Right.
Yeah,
And so Starlin's able to take these themes and create these kind of characters that can sort through this stuff. Even in his bigger storylines, you know, it comes through. But I'm like, one of the key things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is basically, up until I would say this new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, keep it so like a 13-year-old can get it.
yes.
But when you're 13, it's really hard to like understand the ramifications of like a dad that's not there, because even if you're in the middle of it, then you're too close to it to see the kind of after effects that the film explores. So like for the first time in the entire since Iron Man, they made a movie whose central thematic is adult rather than juvenile. You know what I mean? But again, it's one of those things where you're like, I was expecting a cold glass of beer, and you got at me from like an adult perspective. It was kind of surprising, but yeah, no, it's welcome. I'm glad that he has the leeway to do something. I just was like, how are they going to do that? So again, maybe I'm making my own case for argument that if like, look, if you're willing to let somebody like James Gunn like really attack it from an adult perspective, maybe you can handle Adam Warlock and Thanos. But I would rather you throw him by the wayside than really
origin story.
screw him.
I'm not too familiar with him, that character.
It's convoluted, and I could explain it.
Yeah,
because I'm a big nerd.
Yeah, I would like to hear it. I'll talk.
He's
Marvel all
he's
day.
created by this scientists, these Earth scientists called the Hive, and they called him, and he escaped, I think, and maybe blew them up and ran into Thor and hit on Thor's girlfriend, and Thor whipped his ass into space, and then his kind of like, here's what happens when I get my ass kicked, is he like develops this cocoon and comes out like a little better on the other side of the cocoon like every time. And he's gotten his ass kicked to the point of basically dead a few times. So after Thor whipped his ass, he was found and hatched by this thing called the High Evolutionary, who's this giant robot alien thing, who sent him to a place called Earth 2, the first of, I guess, a lot of Earths. And he was basically fought some guy called the Man Beast, who was like the living devil of a politician who looked like a man but really was kind of a werewolf thing.
Oh.
And he beats the Man Beast, but only by sacrificing himself like Jesus style, only in like a Nixonian version of like Earth, because this is like you know, early 70s or whatever. So then he dies there. And then later, Jim Starlin brings him back to life. And this is where the cool Warlock stuff begins, because that's all like Gil Kane and I can't remember who the other guy created him. But then Jim Starlin's like, you know what? I like Space Jesus, and I'm going to use him to be the foil for Thanos after I've killed Captain Marvel. Marvel got rid of Captain Marvel because I think there was, I don't remember. Captain Marvel died, but he's like, I need somebody to fight Thanos, so I'm going to bring Adam Warlock back.
Huh.
And Adam Warlock came with Gamora and Pip the Troll, who they cast Peter Dinklage in the Infinity War, so I'm pretty sure that he's going to be Pip the Troll, who's a really fun character as well.
I've never heard of Pip the Troll. Gosh darn.
He's Adam Warlock's, like, buddy.
I'm going to have to look what he looks like. Pip the Troll. That's a...
Yeah, Pip is he's not far from the character that Dinklage plays on Game of Thrones. Anyway, Adam Warlock is like...
He's a ginger troll.
Yeah.
Ginger troll.
He's kind of, you know...
He's smoking cigarettes.
Super powerful and egotistical, but the only guy that can ever really handle Thanos. And again, he is this character that was kind of... Starlin didn't create him, but in his way, he came to embody like the, you know, redemptive heroics of doing the right thing as opposed to the nihilism of Thanos. But I'm like, how are you going to make that not boring? Because mostly what's cool about those two characters on the page is them standing and talking to each other
Yeah.
and reading their points of view and how they like go back and forth. Because but that's
put a
not
scene
that's
in
not
that.
that cinematic. You know what I mean?
They can make it. I mean, look, a lot of Game of Thrones is dialogue, man. You know.
But I don't watch Game of Thrones in a cinema either.
Oh, that's true. But I mean, I kind of do. I have like a little movie theater in my living room, so I mean, it's still cool. But I don't know if I want to see that in 3D. I don't think there's gonna be any context.
Right. I need them to make that kind of like cool somehow.
Did you see Guardians in 3D?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was they did a fairly good job with it, man.
Marvel is really, really like cutting edge at this point when it comes to, I don't know, like their last couple didn't look like TV shows, like, and that's something I can't say about most of them. Like, I don't think either one of the Iron Man movies look like TV shows. They look great, the first two, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then Doctor Strange, which I didn't love, but it didn't look like a TV show.
I didn't mind Doctor Strange.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I just didn't. It wasn't like, I don't love any, like, the Marvel movies are like a big long TV show to me. They're not like, oh, you achieved like a great morality tale by creating some characters in a conflict and resolving it and having me think about it. It's like, no, you achieved a commercial for the next set of movie. And I'm fine with it being that, but I like when it can be a little more, like the new Guardians film is a little bit more than that, but most of them really aren't. Even when I like at first was kind of like, oh look, Winter Soldier's about the overreach of like the government and lack of privacy, but if you really like start looking too close at it, its thematics kind of just like fall apart. Like it's really not saying anything.
No.
I
I wasn't a huge fan of Bucky.
No?
No. Just didn't like the whole Cap Bucky thing.
Oh,
Everyone loved it.
I just think that the Winter Soldier's metal arm is really cool, and every time he does anything with the metal arm, it's like, but that's enough for me. I'm like, dude, he's the guy that like tears open vehicles with the metal arm and catches Cap's shield, and like, there's enough metal arm stuff.
He also got blown up by Iron Man when he tried to rip out his stone or whatever.
Yeah.
His power gem. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like they're all, I've enjoyed them so far, and I'm always eager to see the next one, but it's rare that they end up like on my best of list at the end of the year.
I don't think that's why they ever get any Oscars or whatnot. But what do you think of the Thor Ragnarok?
Oh, it's gonna be brilliant, dude.
It's gonna be a comedy, right?
Well, I love that guy's movies, dude. Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah.
He's phenomenal, man. Like The Hunt for the Wilder People was like one of the best movies I saw last year for sure.
I never saw it, but I did see the What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows is also really
I
good.
watch that any day, over and over again.
Well, and it's not like he got that good, like Eagle versus Shark isn't like as good as those movies. Like he had some growing pains, you know what I mean? But he's like clearly ironed that shit out, man. I am ready. Like Thor Ragnarok looks like a blast. It looks like the blast. It looks like the cold beer I was gonna expect for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, people are getting pissed because they're, especially Brandon Torres. I mentioned something about that the other day, and he's like, because like I guess Planet Hulk, they're kind of merging with the Ragnarok, and I don't know. I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the storyline. I just think.
Neither do I.
I just think it looks hilarious.
It's gonna be funny.
Yeah, I think that Thor is a great character to get funny with because he is the most stoic of characters, and
it's like Drax.
Yeah, Drax is funny.
Yeah, Drax was really funny in that.
Yeah, I will say, like, even though we were in a half-full theater and I felt like that screenings I read about got more laughs, I don't think any of his laughs failed. I think that every one of his laugh lines hit the theater. And sometimes things that I didn't even laugh at, but I was just like, man, I guess they know better than me what's funny because everybody else is laughing at that.
Yeah.
But, it is a kind of, I guess it's kind of like, all right, well, if we're going to make the central theme a little more adult, we're going to still have lots of jokes for like 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because there's some lowbrow humor.
Yeah.
And I don't even really mean I mean, there's some base humor, but there's also just some kind of dumb stuff that's in that movie that you just be like, well, I'd have thought that would have been a little dumb, but everybody's laughing, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did bridge that gap between the young and the old.
It
so-
never feels disingenuous to the characters. You're just like, yeah, I guess they might say that.
Yeah, I can see it. What's your writing style like? Are you more like dramatic writer or
I like to write horror.
you're a horror guy? Okay, cool. I've had a lot of people do horror.
I think
come
that
in-
horror
come in
is
here.
that's the extension of like tragedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mainstream.
there's tragedy and comedy, and I'm not very funny, so it's horror. Because otherwise it's drama, and it's
Right.
like, well, it's horror is drama just with more blood.
That's true. Yeah.
Like it's not like I'm not trying to be not dramatic. I'm trying to be more dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Is that how you got in touch with Hunter Wayne and because you were doing?
I met Hunter
script
years
you
ago
were-
at Fantastic Fest when
Yeah.
he was housing a friend of mine's friend who was a filmmaker, and because they were all, you know, hanging out together and I was hanging out with him, Hunter was like with that crew because that was the guy he was housing at Fantastic Fest, and we just kind of met that way.
Man, he's always at that festival. He loves that festival.
It is basically the best thing that I do every year.
That's awesome. When is it typically?
I think it's the last week in September or the first week in October.
Really? I gotta go this year. I wanna
It
check
is.
out.
It's the most fun you'll have at a festival, and I'm not just saying that. I talk to all the people that do that for a living and get to go to all of the other festivals, and they're just like none of them are as fun as this.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean? I don't get to go to all these festivals all around, but I always get to go to that one. And when you talk to people that have been to all the bigger ones and stuff, they're just like, yeah, they're not centrally located like this. They don't have all the. One of the cool things that Fantastic Fest does, and I don't know how they're able to maintain this like magic alchemy that they have, but they counter program against the films cool stuff that you might want to do otherwise, and it keeps like the rooms like free enough that the people who really want to see the movies like basically get to see what they want to see. And if stuff is popular with people, they like schedule more screenings of it, and it is just they really, really cater to like the viewers, man. Like people have a great time at that festival.
I gotta check it out. Do you see any celebrities there? Do a lot of people go there?
I mean, you see more filmmakers than actors,
yeah.
but
It's good networking.
But for me, like filmmakers are like those are the celebrities. Like this is who I'd rather
Yeah.
meet and talk to. But yeah, I've definitely seen lots of actors there too. And then like, I mean, Elijah Wood is like part of the festival, so he's like always there.
Yeah.
One year when they had Judge Dredd, Carl Urban was there. I mean, yeah, there's always some actors and celebrities there. Like the guy, what's his name? Kaleb. He was in like X-Men as Banshee, and he was in Get Out as like the mean brother. They had a film. Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son, had a film called Antiviral there, and this actor. I can't remember his name.
Did you see Get Out? I heard that was really good.
It's phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah. I never got to see it. It looked very racist.
It looked racist?
Yeah, I mean, just the whole like all the black people are somewhat slaves or some deal, and they're.
But
basically
see,
trying to brainwash
you're
this
you're
guy.
judging the movie based on its advertising.
That's all I know. But I mean, I heard it was excellent. Don't get me
It's
wrong.
not racist.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
And like
Confirmed.
what you think about the movie is like not accurate. You have to I wouldn't say that the marketing of the movie isn't racist. Maybe it is, but the movie isn't.
Nice. Well,
And I definitely would agree with you that the marketing
I like the
sort
cast
of
in it.
misrepresents it, but in a way that I felt was cool, because I would rather you misrepresent your movie a bit and make me want to see it
That's true.
than give away the plot and the marketing. And by the time they got to the point in the movie where like the curtain comes back and they're like, this is what's going on, 1 second before that point, I did not know what was going on. And you know how many movies that's true for?
Really cool.
No, most movies, by the time you get to like, here's where we're actually going to tell you what's up, you know about 10 or 15 minutes before that. This movie was literally, but it wasn't like one of those Scream 2 things where it's like, and the killer is some character you never heard of. It
That's
wasn't like
bullshit,
that.
yeah.
It was like, oh, wow. Well, that makes sense. Whoa, that's crazy. Like it really is. But you're also just like not what I expected.
That's good. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
And
That's on my
especially,
list.
the marketing is well, it was kind of. You're not the first person I've heard that the marketing had that effect on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I don't. I guess Caleb Landry Jones. That's the dude
Oh.
from Get Out. That he was an antiviral. He's an actor. But again, is big stars. I don't know. Like they don't. I mean, years ago there was a movie called Never Let You Go, and by Mark Romanek, and Andrew Garfield was there with it.
Oh.
But he wasn't a big star yet.
Right.
But now he's making movies with Mel Gibson and Martin Scorsese that come out like a week apart, and I'm like, last time somebody was that cool was like DiCaprio had like Catch Me If You Can and Gangs of New York come out like a week apart. And I'm like, dude, if you can open a Spielberg and a Scorsese movie like a week apart, you've done pretty well for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Finally got an Oscar though. Congrats on Leonardo.
I didn't really like that movie though.
The Revenant. I liked the fight scene at the end. That was dope. Looked real.
Oh, the movie looked great. I'm just not really. I don't buy into the self-importance of Inarritu.
Yeah.
No, I don't. He has like a holier than thou approach to filmmaking, I think. Like, and he can describe it as self-effacing, but I'm also like, yeah, but you wouldn't need to make a movie that's self-effacing if you didn't already think that you were on a pedestal like Birdman or like The Revenant.
I never saw Birdman. I like.
I like Amores Perros.
Yeah.
Babel's another movie that I think is like completely misguided in its like messaging. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I haven't. There's a lot of movies I gotta see. Brennan Torres is ripping me a new one on the podcast. He's like, dude, what are you doing with your life? I'm like, that's why I have a podcast so people can come tell me about it, and I come, I can check it out afterwards. Yeah, but yeah. So what do you got? What are you working on right now? Any projects? I know you just got back from Ireland, so I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the film that we shot like a year and a half ago, a buddy of mine, Eric Neil Allred, shot this film, A Lack of Furniture, and it is.
A lack of furniture.
A lack of furniture. Yeah.
Huh.
It's
Is it a horror?
It's no, it's not a horror film.
Okay.
It's a drama. It's a kind of interpersonal drama. Shot here in Austin. It's about a relationship and kind of like the ins and outs of a relationship. Kind of told alienly. Definitely a real art house kind of thing.
Oh.
But it's really a beautiful kind of poetic film. It's out at festivals right now, so we're
Very cool.
hoping to play around.
It's a full feature.
Yeah, it's a feature-length film,
Nice.
and
It's good.
I play kind of the philosophical weirdo like buddy.
You're an actor in it.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
So how do you go from I like being a writer with that seclusion to now being like an actor and being faced and being told what to do? That's a huge difference.
It is, but it's also, I don't know. There's a different kind of fun in the production stage. I think you know what I mean. Where, regardless of your role on set, like
I love being on set.
Yeah,
it's my favorite.
Yeah,
thing.
there's something about there's a high that comes with like being during the production phase that you're doing it. You're doing it right now, and this is live. This is live, folks. We're getting it right. We're getting it right now. We're gonna take our time and get it right, but we have to move people. Like let's it's all like these people over here have some time. You don't have any time right now. Like it's
exactly.
And I know you're real great at like that
Time management.
And the way to keep your mind on multiple things at once. And I think that's hard for me because I feel like on most of the shorts that I've worked on, I have been whatever I was doing, I was also ADing. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, why didn't you hire an AD? And I'm like, I don't know. We would just would just do it ourselves, and it's hard sometimes for me to do that because I don't like telling people what to do. I wanna like just talk to the actors and just
Yeah.
tell them what I need from them, and let everybody else do their job. But sometimes it's hard. You know better than I do even.
Right.
So I
You
don't
gotta
know. Like,
balance.
I think what I love
Gotta balance
about
it
being an actor is that I am not producing and I'm not directing. And
Yeah.
I like to do those things. But if I'm an actor and I'm on the set, I'm like, oh, this is the best position on the set. I get to, when stuff's like being done, I just get to sit here and not like
Yeah,
worry
worry.
about everything, because I feel like regardless of if you're not the actor, you should be worried about everything, even if it's not your job. I'm like, you really should. If you're the
Yeah.
producer, you really have to be worried about every single thing. And if you're the director, you should get time to just be with your actors, but really you should be worried about everything. And if you're the AD, you should be worried about everything. And if you're the cameraman, you should be worried about all of the people who like, might affect what you're doing right now. If you're the camera operator, I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like
It's a
everybody else
trickle-down,
has to be worried about everything. You all are like connected at like a tree.
Right.
But if you're an actor, you really
Even
don't.
the PAs running around still should be worried. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like that, and when you're an actor, you can still be like, I just need to sit here and read my lines and be really focused on like this thing that I'm doing and not all of these other things. You know what I mean? And ideally, I'm sure that when the bigger and bigger films that you're on, the departments are more autonomous and people can really focus on their little thing more. But
Right.
I've worked mostly on independent films,
Same
and
here.
it's a lot more, we're all one moving unit thing, and if anybody is like slacking, the whole thing gets pulled back. And,
Right. You're only as strong as your weakest link, so it gets hard.
But yeah, acting is a lot of fun. I did that, when I was in junior high, we didn't have any theater program, but only because there was no teacher willing to do it. So my mom was like, I'll do the one-act play. So I did a one-act play when I was like 13 or 12, and we did this really stuffy play called The Heritage of Wimpole Street. It's about Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Robert Browning's romance, and her father, vetting her lover or whatever. Really like, hoity-toity English crap. I don't know why my mother selected it. And I played the old man at 13. Like my first acting role ever is like playing like a 80-year-old man. But still, I liked it enough that I just was like, well, I'm just gonna do this now. So I did it. I did theater all through high school and stuff, and
That's cool.
continued to do like community theater in college.
And where'd you go to college?
UT,
UT. Yeah.
the University of Texas in Austin.
In Austin, Texas. And that's where we're located right now, for those of you who are listening. I'm sure you all know this by now if you've been paying attention to any of my podcasts. Yeah.
Can I break and use the restroom again?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be right back. All right, and we're back.
Back. Feeling so much better.
Very cool. What were we discussing, man? We were talking about just love and life, man. You were talking about films, and do you want to... we're talking about how acting is so much different from producing, and so were you a principal character? Or just secondary?
Yeah, I'm like the best friend.
Oh, cool, awesome, and
So he's definitely. There's two leads, and I'm kind of like the B character,
nice,
or the C character. I don't know. Yeah, not the lead.
right, yeah. You don't have the love interest or whatnot.
Not this time.
Not this.
I don't know. I always got. I did this play at this community theater that I grew up around called the Point Theater, and in college I would go home and run my dad's canoe rental business, and I would drive about 40 minutes a day to rehearse for and do this play in Ingram, and there was this play that I wanted to be in. I was just doing something for the summer. It was called Love Rides the Rails, and it was like a melodrama, and I wanted to play the villain. The villain had like all the cool jokes and stuff. And I auditioned for the villain, and the director was like, "Would you read this part too?" And it was like the lead. And after I read it, he was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna cast you as the lead." And I was like, "I wanted to play the villain." And he said, "But you look like the lead." And I
Oh,
was just like, "Well, I guess what are you gonna say?" All right, I'm mad you cast me as the lead. No, but I'm always more interested in like character stuff because it's
I love playing villains, man.
yeah,
That's
villains is where it's at. Like,
yeah.
I'd even play henchman, man. I don't need to be like the main villain. I could
Right.
be like, oh, I just gotta like stand in the back and glower like menacingly while I hold a plastic gun. Yeah, I want to do that, you know?
I don't care if I have low hit points as long as I'm on the bad side.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
I
sure.
don't need to be high HP.
No, I can be the hitman. I can be the henchman. I get to stand next to like Arnold Vosloo or Lance Henriksen. Like just yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I would love to. Be, yeah. Bad. Because you look at people's like careers like later on down the line. Like Michael Parks just passed away. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Death Wish 5. You know. I mean, he's like, he's the villain. He's one of the great mean faces.
Yeah. Yeah. Although you do have a nice face, you don't have a villainous face. You could. I think you definitely could. Like,
What about Gary Oldman? Does he have a nice face? He's a guy you can't even say what his face looks like because if you think about him, you can't even. You're just like, are you? I can't. Your head can't even wrap your mind around what Gary Oldman actually looks like.
Yeah, William Dafoe. He looks like a.
Yeah, but Scorsese cast him as Jesus.
That's true. Yeah, but he looks so evil all the time.
I don't know. He doesn't look evil in Last Temptation of Christ.
Right.
Though he does get his moment where he's like, now I've come to bring the axe. Yeah, he has a kind of a look. But yeah, I think he could play a nice guy. Willem Dafoe.
I guess so, but still.
It's not really his thing. Nice
I'd
guys.
rather cast him as a if I was casting. All right, you're the villain, but you know that.
Or what about
you stand over there?
What about his character Klaus? Klaus is a nice guy.
Yeah, but he's still creepy.
He's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just hard to fix that kind of face.
But I like Bob Hoskins. He's a guy that could go from Eddie Valiant to like a straight gangster. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Kevin Spacey can do the same thing.
He's always a bad guy to me. I mean, even in American Beauty, I'm like, he won the Oscar for turning his level of creep down to Lester Burnham level of creep. Still totally a creep who's like lusting after like the high school girl. I'm like, name a role where he's not creepy.
That's true.
Oh, I'm K-Pax, the creepy alien. You know what I mean? Like he's just king creep.
Who do you think couldn't play a villain? Who's too nice looking to not play a villain?
I don't know that there's like somebody that's too nice looking.
Yeah.
It has more to do with like your baggage. Like I would really have a hard time seeing like Patrick Warburton as a villain. Like it would always be like Kronk talking no matter what he did.
Yeah.
Or even the dumb boyfriend from Seinfeld. Like it'd be very difficult for me to like take him seriously as a villain.
Who's that young like innocent kid in 30 Rock that became like the? Did you ever watch 30
Joseph
Rock?
Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah.
He could do a villain. I think he's a good actor.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think he could do it for sure. Like, I mean, even his character in Looper is like pretty sinister. He's not a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And then like in Hesher, he's like, have you seen Hesher?
No, I haven't seen Hesher.
He's pretty nihilistic, though. Ultimately, I think that character has like a heart of gold, but he's definitely does a lot of like property damage in that movie. Like yeah, the scenes of him rocking out and smashing things are pretty good.
When did that come out? Hesher?
Hesher, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
It's not. I don't love it. It's kind of like a Visitor Q type of movie with Rainn Wilson and like the main character is a kid and their mom dies in a car wreck at the beginning, and it's about how they navigate that grief. But this metalhead played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt like comes into their life and kind of shows them, hey, there's more to life than the fact that your wife died. But I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. That's not my kind of movie so much.
What is the best movie you've seen this year?
2017.
2017.
Oh, let's look at my list. And do you mean new releases or just like anything I saw this year?
We can do anything you've seen this year as long as it's not going back to like 1990s. That's fucking
Oh well.
yeah.
Then I'll give
Destiny.
2 answers because
Okay.
the best thing I saw this year, and I am going for that far back,
Oh,
is
shit.
when we were in Dublin. They had this theater called the Lighthouse Theater had this festival going on called Sigourney Fever, and they
Oh.
were showing all of the usual things that you would imagine would play at a Sigourney Weaver festival, but we were there for Aliens. And I got to tell
Nice.
you, I've never seen Aliens in a cinema, and like the temperature in the room probably increased 10 degrees over the course of
It's such a good
Cameron's
movie.
Aliens. Dude, just like I've seen that movie a gazillion times, and seeing it on the big screen for the first time was just like with a packed house full of people was seriously like
I felt that way with The Wizard of Oz. Totally different kind of type of movie, but it was awesome on the big screen. I saw that like Paramount Theater a few years back.
oh, I'll give 2 answers because I'm gonna. Well, damn it.
Don't worry, bud. You don't gotta stress out too much.
No, it's hard. I suppose the best movie I've seen 2017, like new release, is Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though I really, really liked Free Fire, but it's not quite as smart as Get Out, even if it is like very cool. And I really liked a film called Kedi, which is not a narrative, it's a documentary about cats in Istanbul. And it was like
What?
super hungover one morning, like, and I can't remember what we had done the night before, but it was some big event. No, it was after so my wife and I had our bachelor party and our bachelorette party on the same night. It wasn't by design. That's just
Oh.
because those things were planned by other people, right? They just ended up planning them on the same night. So
That's
we were like,
crazy.
wow, that's crazy.
Was there some collusion between the
No,
two?
not at all. It
Wow.
was just absolutely coincidental. So it's like, well, you gotta have somebody come feed the animals, in the morning because we're not gonna be here and whatever. And we got back like the next morning, and we were both just like, just feeling pretty rough,
Mhm.
And she was like, "Let's go see this movie." My buddy had mentioned that it was playing a couple of nights before, and it was this documentary about cats in Istanbul called Kedi. Yes, like kitty.
Mhm.
And these people in Istanbul, it's very cool. And I see you have an outdoor cat. And I think
Right.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
The cats are like not owned so much as they're named and fed,
Right.
but it's like, well, it's his life. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We have a
And I think that's
female
very
tiger
cool.
cat
Like
named Garfield that's been
we have
with the house for
3
like
cats,
5
and
years.
they all live in the house, and they don't go outside.
Oh.
And
I just don't like litter boxes, man.
me either.
Ugh. The
Me either.
ammonia and
It's not my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
My wife had those cats. I have a dog,
nice.
and I love my dog, and I don't dislike the cats. I like the cats just fine, but yeah, if it were up to me, they could come and go as they please.
Right.
But that's not. I don't know. I don't get to say that. She loves those cats, and she's just like afraid they're gonna get snatched by a hawk or something. I don't know what the fear is.
Right.
She's afraid that they'll not be safe outside. Which I'm like, they're cats. They're pretty savvy animals,
Yeah,
They
they're
know what's
totally-
up. They know what's
Yeah.
dangerous. They know what's. But then again, there's cars and stuff, and cats can't. They
It's
don't
true.
know about cars.
Yeah. Oh man. There's this one of our neighbors. Twice a year we get a litter of cats, and they just keep them outside. And I wish he would spay his cats. I really do, because it gets really annoying. Especially when we try to feed Garfield, we put food outside, and then like I come out and there's like 15 cats on my stoop. And I'm just like, get out of here. Stop it. We have to like feed Garfield inside sometimes when it's like
Oh,
tis
man.
the season now. I heard meowing the other day and looked at my roommate. We're like, oh God, is it that time already? Yeah.
Wow.
It's a problem, because they feed them and stuff, but they just leave them out, and then like they either die. Especially when they like during this time, it's really hot.
Oh,
I've seen
summertime,
them,
yeah, it's like-
dehydrate and just perish, and it's like, all right, now I have dead kittens on my property. What the fuck? Yeah.
It really
Kinda sad.
sucks.
Yeah. If anybody wants any kittens, just come down to my neighborhood. I'm sure there's a few. Just don't touch our cat. Yeah. Sad.
Yeah, it's a bummer, man.
Yeah. But so the documentary Istanbul, that was good, huh?
This is great, man. It's super relaxing. Just
Mhm.
these cats have a positive impact on these people's lives just by simply being cats.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, fuck. Documentaries are fun. Do you ever think about doing one of those?
Uh, yeah. I always think about. I really like. I'm really obsessed with this Italian filmmaker Lucio Fulci. Do you know Fulci?
The name sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar with
He did a lot of like real seminal horror films in the
it.
'80s. If you're into that kind of like Italian stuff, but he also did a lot of great films in the '70s that are like more political type of films, and he got blacklisted from Cinecittà, which is like it's like Hollywood in Rome, and he had to go do some kids films, and then he basically started making these independent horror films, and that's really where he got real popular after he quit working for the studios. And what's really fascinating to me about him in particular is that most filmmakers, uh, they if they're gonna make a horror film, they do it early in their career because a horror film is both something that you can produce and sell without a movie star. And you know what I mean? It has its own niche appeal. Like people are always going to watch the new horror movies, even if they don't know who the actors are or anything, because it has the benefit of being a new horror movie. You know, people just like that. But this guy started early in his career in the '50s with these guys. I think it's Frankie or Franco and Ingrassa, and they were like a fat man, thin man comedy duo, like Abbott and Costello. And he made several comedies with these guys, and then he graduated to some more like satirical type of comedies, and then he got into like some more satirical type of thrillers, and he did like this trio of films like that 1, 2, 3 basically were three strikes and you're out that were like each one more subversive than the previous. And but so then at that point, after he got blacklisted and he starts doing these independent horror films, like in his late career, he's already made like by the time he makes his first like out and out horror film, it's like his 25th feature film.
Wow.
So his teeth as far as like what he's shooting and like how he's gonna move the camera and how he edits. This is all like he's been making movies for so long, and it's so rare for you to just see a big string of horror movies that are made by a professional craftsman as opposed to most horror movies come super like I said super early in somebody's career, so they seem more like unless they're just like kind of studio junk, you know what I mean? But I love that his films are so professional and so.
And he's still making films, right?
No, he died in like
Oh,
1995.
oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, he's been dead a long time, you know, like 22 years. But yeah, it's just nobody has that kind of like. And then no one else would hire me, so then I made like 20 horror films in a row that are all really like great,
That's awesome.
and brazen in terms of their politics. Like he was definitely like a very like political filmmaker, and so yeah, I've thought about making a documentary about him. There are already several documentaries about him, but they're not that great. My real dream is to, and I hate this genre of movie, but in my head it's like this is like really good, is to do a biopic of this guy, Lucio Fulci, and I want to cast Paul Giamatti as Fulci and make this film. And it would not be like, I don't know, I think it would be something a little bit closer to Ed Wood, but not in a, like, in that the end of the guy's life is like actually like kind of a sad story, and I would not get that far. I would like try and end it on like a fairly high note, you know what I mean?
That's good.
Because like, I don't want people to like see the story and be like, oh, well, that's fucking tragic. I want it to be like, no. This dude made a lot of like really, you know, ballsy works, and like they're, you know, really great. And they're not just like ballsy in terms of like, ooh, he exploded a guy's head. They're like ballsy in terms of their politics, you know. So much that, you know, he stuck his neck out so many times that they kicked him out.
Right. And so the primary movie would be during that time where he kicked out and then comes back?
No, I would say I would span even more time than that. Like I would span the first movie that made him kind of like a hit movie. He did this western called Massacre Time with Franco Nero and George Hilton, and it is a beast of a spaghetti western. Like there's a scene in.
Did he film it in Italy or?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Not all his films were shot in Italy, but most of them. He did shoot a few in like Louisiana and New England and New York.
Nice.
He liked to shoot in America. Um, but yeah, I would start with that film. Basically, it's the first he made like George Hilton a star with that movie, and is a really cool movie, and would be a really cool like opening scene to a movie is like
Hmm.
these characters on this setting and stuff, and then yeah, I don't want to say all my ideas about the movie,
No,
but
no, no. You don't have to.
no, I have the whole movie in my head more or less.
You gonna put it on paper?
I have it outlined.
Mhm.
I keep trying to like do a draft of it, but it's kind of hard coming sometimes. It seems like an unrealizable dream, but I got to really write it down so I can, I don't know, get it to the necessary people who might have, more resources than I do.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You've sold some screenplays, right?
Yeah, I had one that I wrote to spec and just basically sold for the work, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was called The Operator, about a stock market operator in the 1920s.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's kind of a bit of a like There Will Be Blood type of thing, where it is mostly about the greed of this one character, and it was not wasn't my idea.
Okay.
I wrote it for someone else, but never came to pass. The
Yeah.
film never came to be a film. Just was a screenplay that I wrote.
Hey, at least got paid for it.
Yep.
No?
Yeah, it was worth it.
Worth it. It's out there now.
I mean, that script is. I would still see that movie,
Yeah.
but it's not mine.
I mean, what's interesting is because I never think of 1920s stockbrokers.
Well, most of the stock market as we know it came after the crash. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So these guys were. It's kind of leading up to that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like what kind of fraud these dudes could commit, but that it was legal fraud. These practices that these guys did at the time, there wasn't. I mean, even now the regulatory agencies are still. Their role is nebulous at best, but in that time it was virtually non-existent. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
The way that these guys were driving up, like, they could literally do things like just go in the right room full of people and say how they bought so much coffee this morning, say, or sugar, and I don't mean like a couple of pounds, I mean stocks that
Right.
equal coffee and sugar, and whether they actually spent the money trading the stock or not, they could just whisper it to the right people and affect, the
Wow.
market,
Yeah.
because then those people would go into like because it wasn't like the internet. You didn't have like super scrutinized data. It was just like, oh, well, you get the info where you get it. See, through the grapevine. See, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
people would just
see?
like hear stuff, and so much of it was misinformation that was intentional to,
Right.
adversely affect the market. And then, everybody starts buying coffee, and it goes way down, even though there wasn't really a run on it. But that there was going to be a shortage coming up, so you buy it all real cheap, and now the shortage comes up, and now you're caught. Anyway, it's ridiculous
Yeah.
what they used to do. And then because it's a movie, there was gunplay and stuff.
Sweet. Yeah, have to have some sort of action.
Otherwise, it's people talking about numbers.
Yeah, see?
I mean, it was a little more exciting then than it was today. I don't know what the stock floor looks like today. I guess it's still a bunch of like speedheads shouting at like scrolling numbers, but back then they called them like, I think they were called bucket houses, and it was all done on like chalkboards. And these
Oh,
dudes
wow.
would buy it like on chalkboards, and they have like a big screaming room full of people with I can't remember what the buckets stood for. It's probably but I'm pretty sure that's what it was called, bucket houses, where they would go. These men would go in and do their day trading. It was a fascinating time. I had to research that and write that script, but it drove me crazy. Like, I hated reading about it. It was like
Yeah, it's
making you think about the way that people lie to each other to like make money and stuff is like very disgusting. You know what I mean? That's why I mean, in the script, I had some characters, you know, like kill each other because while that wasn't like the directive I was given by the person who gave me the story, I was like, yeah, but these people are terrible. So they need to. Somebody needs to die.
Yeah, they gotta go. They gotta go. Are you writing anything right now for future,
Oh, I have
Got
several
anything in the
things
works?
like in the works. No, I don't. Oh, that's not true. I have a script right now that I have out with a few people that I I hope to produce. It's very low budget. It's 2 characters, 1 location,
or? Oh, that's nice.
and it's a horror movie, but it's also kind of a erotic thriller.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, were you telling me about this
probably,
when we were on the set at Death Mansion? I
yeah.
remember that opening.
And it
I mean, you don't have to give
it's
too
no
much
no.
away.
I want to
Okay.
talk about it. I'm just
Sure.
trying to like say it in a way that I don't say too much, but
Mhm.
but makes it appealing to those listening. It's very sexy. It's very violent. It's basically like, you know, if Jaws makes going swimming in the water scary, this film should ideally make going home with somebody you just met kind of equally scary.
Oh, that kind of situation.
So yeah, it's like
Mm.
these 2 characters are have just met. He's kind of a up and coming rock and roller, but he's also not quite a has been.
Oh,
Like, he's in his late 20s.
okay.
He certainly didn't set the world on fire at 23, and 5 more years have passed,
Mhm.
and he's known, but more people could know him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's in that middle ground of, am I gonna break bigger, or am I gonna is this as far as I'm gonna go? And she is someone that intercepted him after a performance, and they've ended up at his place together. And I mean, that's basically setting you up for like the key turning in the door as the film opens. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm not.
So,
None of that I just told you is like in the movie. Like the movie begins as they arrive. You could do it. I mean, I don't know how. In my head, I'm like, oh, well, you could do it as a play, but I'm like, well, it's pretty violent and gruesome, so you need a lot of stagecraft to do it as a play. But there's really. It's when I say one location, I mean it's his apartment. So there's like a bedroom and a kitchen and a bathroom and a living room.
Right.
And then there's an exterior scene that takes place outside the apartment. But
It's one location.
basically one location. You don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
And it's super, super demanding of the actors. I'm like, never. First off, I don't write like sexy stuff, or even sex stuff. I never really have. It's not.
Yeah.
Growing up was ever like my favorite.
Oh baby, oh baby.
It's hard,
Harder.
right? It's hard. And but I had this idea for this one, and I was like, well, if I'm not gonna be able to go anywhere, because the first few screenplays I ever wrote were really just like, oh, I'm gonna write the movies I want to see, and it's like, well, there's not Marvel yet, so you can't write these most ridiculous things you can imagine. No one's making those movies yet. But now they are making those movies. But at the time I was writing this stuff, nobody was making anything like the crazy science fiction, elaborate things that I wanted to see. I still have those scripts. Maybe they'll serve me well one day. But they were just so crazy. And then I would just get smaller. Okay, well now this one's rules are nothing fantastical can happen. It's okay, nothing fantastical can happen. But still, there's 1,000 setups and locations, and it's that's still just way too much.
Right.
All right. Now,
it's feasible.
now it all takes place in the same town. Yeah, but there's still 40 characters, dude. What's the? All right, okay. Now there's 4 characters and 10 locations. That's still ridiculous.
Yeah, 10 locations.
It's still too much. 2 characters, 1 location. What can you do for that? Can you make that interesting for 90 minutes? And so, yeah, at that formula of can I make 2 characters and 1 location interesting for 90 minutes, I think I have succeeded.
Did you ever see that movie Lock? Where it's-
Tom Hardy in the car?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, That was interesting. I can't believe I sat through that whole movie and been like, wow, this.
I like
I
that
like that
writer a
too.
lot,
Yeah.
Stephen Knight.
Mm.
He wrote like Eastern Promises.
Yeah.
He's
I
phenomenal.
was surprised at how good that movie was.
Yeah,
But that was just.
he's a great
I
writer.
mean, in the car they had to do some, exterior driving shots, but other than that,
Sometimes like putting a limitation on yourself makes your work stronger. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I definitely feel like my script is like very strong and
So that's something you can feasibly do as long as you find the right actors that are willing to go through whatever you have them go through.
yeah, and it's gonna take a lot of rehearsal and not just for like the dialogue or whatever and the emotional beats, but like physical rehearsal and most importantly, not only do the actor and actress have to share a chemistry, but they have to be just like super comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
And that's really hard because I need it to be both of those things. Especially like you know how it goes sometimes people who have great chemistry also butt heads.
Mm.
And I'm like, I need it to be I
You
need
find
somehow
like an actor power couple.
that would be incredible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Auditioning pre-existing couples.
Yeah.
I never thought about that cuz I always imagined just throwing an actor and an actress together until I find in an audition process until I find those sparks.
Yeah.
But the idea that they've already done that work as a long-term thing and just auditioning couples, that might be a shortcut.
That could be, as long as they can act. That's the thing. I mean, they can have a great chemistry for sure, but as long as if they can execute it, if they know if they're have
Well,
that
let me
acting
ask you
mentality.
this:
What's that?
you know, you work in a lot of films, and know actors and actresses. How many of them date actors or actresses?
I mean, I know. We had Trevor on set for.
Oh, and I guess
Death
my
Mansion,
buddy-
and
yeah.
his girls and she's a photographer, and I mean they
They're
could probably do it.
Yeah, because most of the actors and actresses that I know, they don't. Their significant others are like, not.
Right. Well, I mean, if they're along this similar lines, I think it could work. They don't necessarily both have to be actors, but if they're both in the scene, entertainment scene, then I think it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's also hard though because it's like, oh, even if I find those people, now I'm going to ask you to take your clothes off,
Right.
and
You gotta make sure they're comfortable with that.
do things that are not only odd,
Mm-hmm.
but in my mind as a writer, unprecedented. Like I'm not gonna say what they are, but I'm like, and I understand the internet is a big place that you could probably find anything, but I'm just like, well, as a writer and as a cinephile, I tried to really find some narrative beats that are, at least to my knowledge, original.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to show you a scene from another movie where you're going to be like, oh, remember in that movie where they did that? It's like, no. These scenes are supposed to be like 7 or 8 moments where you're just like, I can't decide what was more fucked up and crazy.
Oh man.
I at Fantastic Fest, they really, pride themselves on showing just like some really severe stuff sometimes. And I've seen a number of people walk out of a number of movies over the years. And I literally write with this in mind of like, man, I'm really hoping some people get up and walk out right here. And I'm
Yeah.
really hoping some people get up and walk out like here. And if you didn't get up and walk out yet, I still got something coming for you that,
no.
I'm
That's
trying,
fantastic.
and not in like I do think it always serves the narrative. You know what I mean? It's not like a trauma film where I'm just like, how gross can I be?
Right. Yeah.
It
That's
really
not fun.
it really is kind of like. I mean, I
Have
don't
some
again.
tasteful meaning to it, I guess.
I don't know about tasteful, but meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah, tasteful is definitely for the viewer to decide. But I think that hopefully, if I've done my job, they're not going to decide that it's not what those characters would have done. Which means that I've created characters that would
I'm already interested
do
in
these
this film.
things.
I want to see this come together. That would be great.
I mean, it's definitely like I don't know. I say I'm not a kinky guy, but I did write this movie where it's like I think it's pretty kinky, but not anything I would ever do.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in the first like 10 minutes I might do some of that stuff, but like after after they cross a certain threshold, these characters are often no man's land.
Yeah.
But hopefully they are relatable enough that you not just be like, no one would do that, because that's the danger too when you have characters, engaging in far out behavior. Is like, you don't want.
You see that in a lot of like stupid, well, not stupid, but like cliche horror films where like, oh, the girl runs away, trips, and it's like, come on, you wouldn't go down there by yourself, would you? Come on.
Well, and I think, and I don't want to say too much, but I kind of do want to say this about the film. So in a weird sort of one night stand situation, normally the point of disbelief is, well, why doesn't she leave if it gets this weird, right?
Right.
Because this is the given psychology of like the gender roles and like what's normative. But what if they're at his house and he's not the one that's getting weird?
See, that's cool.
Because he can't go home. He's already home.
And she knows where he lives now.
And he could kick her out, but he brought her home for a reason.
Right.
How much is he willing to put up with to get to that thing that he brought her home for?
Male ego right there, some pride, like he's
yeah, but I think that it is kind of identifiable for a person to say like, wow, okay, so yeah, she's a pretty sexy creature. What would she have to do to be like, I've had it, get the fuck out of my apartment?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's some fertile ground to like mine, right?
I like that idea a lot, man.
And I think that it's fun to watch these characters play, and there's even some things that happen that extenuate the circumstance further, which I don't want to get into, but like,
what would it take for you to get this off the ground?
I mean, I have a budget written for it, and I've sent that to some people, but I never got any word back, so I don't know. I got to get a budget together,
Yeah. Oh man, that's something that I definitely would. I'd love to help you out on that.
Sure. No, I'll if I'll send you the script.
Yeah, send me a script. Yeah.
And you can read it and see what the deal is, what I'm trying to do. Because I also know that getting the location probably gonna be in kind. You know what I mean? Like probably gonna get. I just I gotta hire everybody. I don't want to do a half-ass production on this because this is the calling card. This is the one that I'm pretty sure if I can make a good version of this script, it's very easy to sell is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
like there's
well,
nothing marketing, like it's like a marketing department's dream, they're like, oh, it's a sex movie. It's like, yeah. It's like, it's horrific, it's sexy, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say it's the best thing I ever wrote, but it is like very commercial.
Cool, dude.
I don't know.
Is
like
that a working title or?
The working title is All the Best.
All the Best? Oh.
All the Best. And this is what I think both characters hope for when they go home with each other. Mm-hmm. And I also think that, because I believe in like the mojo of like the spoken word, that it would be like really good mojo to like say like, all the best, scene 4, take 2, every single time you clap the scene, because it's a reminder to everybody on the cast and crew what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We're looking for all the best every take.
Yeah.
And even if that's not the best, like I honestly don't think it's a good name for the movie, because it's kind of like you might forget it as a turn of phrase. It's like, what was that movie called again? All the Best. There's probably some like cooler name like Death Mention or something that will stick in people's heads.
Yeah.
That has a little more to do with the plot or something. But even when I started writing it, I had that title of like All the Best, which I was like, I want the writing to be all the best. I want the performance to be all the best.
Now, for a director standpoint, are you like take after take after take after take, even if it is good, you still do like four or five more takes, or are you kind of like a minimalist, just do the one that you think is, and maybe one for safety, and then?
I really think that it would depend on my production schedule, and really just like, I'm not like, ooh, we got it, so let's get ahead. It's like, no, the schedule was 18 days, so this day we're going to shoot these 3 scenes.
Yeah, I like slow pace.
We gave ourselves enough time for each one of them. If we're ahead right now, let's do a little more.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can't find something here while we have this set up here.
Get some variance, perhaps.
You know what I mean? And we don't know exactly what we're going to get. Even if I think we've got it, let's keep going until it's time to move on. You know, I don't want to be running behind because I feel like I have been on sets where you're just always running behind, and I don't like it. I would rather the actors. I kind of feel like that whole like thing where your first couple of takes sometimes can be the rawest, but then also sometimes they can be like you're not even really loosened up yet. You're not even really loosened up for like the first like. I almost feel like, hey, everybody, we have the lights right, everything's good. Okay, stand by. We're gonna run through it with the camera off a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And by that, just like no pressure. I just want you to really get used to the blocking and really get used to saying the lines, and then, you know, if then be like, okay, y'all have done it 3 or 4 times, and I like how you did it. All right, everybody ready? Now let's do it. You know what I mean? Because if they're not comfortable with the blocking while they're talking and you're rolling camera and you have to reset again, it's like, why?
You're just wasting
time. Yeah, let everybody just like hang out and drink their coffee until the actors are really like, because I just feel like, yeah, like even if you know your lines really, really well, especially if you're moving, you know, it's like you don't know where that part's. It's not something that's like super difficult.
No.
But you have to work through it. You have to like just sit there and spend that 20 minutes like, okay, well, you're going to cross to here and here. What line are you going to be at when you make that move? You know what I mean? Like, don't, you know what I mean?
It helps with continuity, too, when you're doing close-ups and such.
Yeah, you really should just have that really worked out before you say, all right, let's roll it now, because it does. I've seen so many, like, kind of takes just blown, people's time's wasted because we didn't figure out the blocking before we started shooting.
Yeah, I've definitely been in those predicaments for sure.
But yeah, I also think like, especially now that it's funny you asked that question, because years ago, if you were talking to an independent filmmaker, there would be no choice. It's like, well, if we got it, why the hell would we shoot any more film? But we have digital, so it's just like we'll just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. And I'm all for it. I'm all for shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. I'm all for like B camera just like rolling and looking at things, because I might want to cut away because somebody scratched their ass weird and I didn't like it, and I want to have a Band-Aid to throw over on something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I like extra stuff.
Yeah, it's cool to have some good B footage around, and
but I also
see that.
I can see why some filmmakers are like, I just want it to be exactly what I asked for and nothing else, because I boarded the thing like a science text before we even started.
Now, are you a decent editor when it comes down to
I don't know if I'm decent. I'm editing a short film right now that I produced last summer. Last summer. And it's called Hi-Fi. Me and the guy, Eric, that I did A Lack of Furniture. We co-wrote it, and I produced it, and he directed it. And I cut it. I'm doing the color timing right now. And I have some temp music on it that I could leave on there, because I don't have any plans to sell it, but I really should get some original music for it.
Yeah.
But I really love the music I have on it right now. It's really, I don't want to get rid of it, but I know it's not mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a short film called Hi-Fi that I just cut. And I don't know, am I a good editor?
Well, do you enjoy doing it? How about that?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I like it. It's much like writing. It's a very like insulated process, you know what I mean? And you're either by yourself or like just with the director, and you get to just spend time like being just very deliberate with like every frame and every hiccup of sound. And right now I'm doing the coloring, which is the first time I've done color, and I'm like, I'm not loving it the way I love cutting the footage, but I'm learning to love
Color
it.
correction's I mean, really important, for cinematic purposes. I mean, you look at like Mad Max Fury Road, and I mean, that's beautiful, and it's all color stuff.
Yeah. I have I got a buddy who's a art history professor, and he's a photographer, and he has a really good eye, but he's never color corrected a film in Premiere or anything. But I'm gonna have him come over and clip by clip look at him and tell me, does he like the color, and also does it match? Sometimes I have trouble even trusting myself when I look at the frames next to each other, like if the color matches, because you can grade it by scopes, but like what if the color changed in the sky? You know what I mean? There's just so many things that you don't even if you literally.
The hard thing with shooting is trying to match that stuff up.
Even if you put the scopes on the two shots at exactly the same levels, if a cloud moved over the sun or something, then it's wrong. You know what I mean? Or if it's at night and a car happened to come around the corner, then and threw some extra light on it, then it's wrong. And it's rough, man. Like I said, I don't know much about it. I've only just started doing the color correction.
So you, I don't want to cut you off, but you said you had to take off.
Yeah, no, it's gone so quickly. It's nearly time for me to leave.
Yeah, I know it goes by fast, man.
It does.
I mean, we're already at an hour 35. So I mean, man, it's awesome for you coming on, and
thanks for having me, man. I really enjoyed
absolutely.
myself.
I'm so glad that you came on, and man, really excited about that film that you're working on. So
oh yeah, here in the next day or two, I'll send you a script.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll text you my email or whatnot. So if you don't have it, thank you for the picture as well. I'm gonna put that up momentarily. And
everybody look out for a lack of furniture. It should be playing at festivals later this year, and maybe hopefully just get some distribution at some point. You know what I mean? It's early in the process, but the film is finished.
Sweet, that's good. Well, hopefully we'll see more of that, and hopefully I can get you back on the future, and we'll talk more.
I'd love to anytime.
Like I said, an hour and a half is. I've been watching like all these people like late night shows. I'm like, you only get 9 minutes. You don't say shit in 9 minutes. You can barely say like everything you want.
But those things aren't designed to really have discourse. They're designed to sell stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, pleasure.
Thanks so much for having me.
And thank you all for listening. This has been FoxMantis Radio. This is Kaleb Edward Williams, and hope to see more of you, bud. And you guys have a great day. And FoxMantis out.